The backdrop of many major events for the world's largest faiths. This small country has been fought over for thousands of years. Today, it continues to be a place of pilgrimage, not only for the faithful, but for those seeking a one-of-a-kind travel experience. Join us in this two-part adventure through the world's most sacred of places and coming to a fuller understanding of the fascinating cultures that call this place home. My memory of the Holy Land as a young boy has always stayed with me up to now. Back then, the borders may have been different, but I have always dreamt of revisiting this ever-changing place and seeing it in a new perspective. Flying out of Manila to almost any part of the world is made more convenient by Turkish Airlines' daily flights to Istanbul. Impeccable in-flight service, comfort, and thoughtful touches add up to an overall pleasant onboard experience. As you land in the busy transport hub in Istanbul, you will find the same ease and convenience at the Turkish Airlines lounge. With its expansive floor area, there is no jostling for seats in this tastefully decorated lounge. There are all kinds of entertainment imaginable. The killing time is not the issue, but keeping track of time. You won't want to miss your flight. The Turkish Airlines lounge is definitely a destination in itself. I land in Tel Aviv, Israel's second largest city and its commercial capital. Facing the Mediterranean Sea, Tel Aviv is a picture of a young and vibrant city. It used to be a suburb of the more ancient city of Jaffa, a major trading port that has existed for thousands of years. 100 years ago, this whole area was nothing but sand dunes, but the city was born out of a vision. In 1909, a number of Jewish families wanted to move out of the crowded city of Jaffa and purchase 12 acres of sand dunes nearby. They envisioned an ideal city of the future and worked to make the land livable. Today, Tel Aviv is a bustling beach destination with an interesting culinary and cafe culture. I met with my friend Toby, an architect who traces his roots in Israel but has been based in Manila for some time. We were in the heart of Jerusalem, and for an ancient city, they had a well-developed rail system. It was a quick and convenient way to get around the city. We reached the Yad Vashem, or Holocaust Museum, a sprawling complex which not only serves as a commemoration, but also a repository of evidence from this dark chapter in human history.
Joy, during World War II, the Nazis had a policy of extermination in Europe.
Yes.
Where they tried to destroy the Jewish people.
Right.
And they were nearly successful. In fact, by the time the war ended, more than 6 million Jews had been murdered,
Yes.
including 1.5 million children. The nation of Israel constructed this memorial, which is called Yad Vashem.
What does Yad Vashem mean?
Well, literally it means the hand and the name.
Okay.
And it comes from a biblical verse. And it connotes the idea that these are real people with real identities.
Here in the Avenue of the Righteous are names of non-Jews who helped save lives from the concentration camps. Many of the stories are beautifully expressed through architecture, such as this imposing structure.
This is the Tent of Remembrance, and it's a structure that has many symbolic functions. During the Holocaust, the Jews were killed in many places. In fact, over 40,000 sites have been identified. So what we've done here is memorialize some of the more well-known Auschwitz people have heard of, Theresienstadt, to give a sense of place to ground the memory of the Holocaust. We also have an eternal flame to memorialize the memory of the victims. And this also serves as a kind of symbolic communal cemetery.
The structure itself, made from basalt from the Sea of Galilee, is reminiscent of the gas chambers in the concentration camps.
And I understand when visiting diplomats or officers of the different countries would normally come here.
That's correct.
And pay their respects.
That's correct. It's obligatory for diplomatic protocol for visitors and dignitaries because of the tremendous significance to the national consciousness of the Holocaust.
Toby takes me to one of the most moving and most chilling galleries in the complex.
Those structure there is
I believe
not
those
finished. It means what? A child that never had a chance to grow up.
That's correct. 1.5 million children were
I know, that's a
were
lot.
killed in the Holocaust, and the Israeli people felt they had to make a special memorial
Yes.
to make note of that fact.
Entering the cave, you will find yourself in darkness, with the light of a solitary candle reflected by hundreds of mirrors, creating the impression of millions of stars. A symbol of more than 1 million innocent lives taken away. The names of the children, their age and country can be heard in the background.
Moshe Nikulitsky, 12 years old.
It takes about a year to read out all of the 1.5 million names.
Overall, the museum has two purposes, really. One is to memorialize the victims, but also the other one is to broadcast to humanity
Right.
of the types of persecution and evil that human beings can perpetuate against each other, in the hopes that through education we can help ensure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
In a city called Rishon, Lezion, I had a rare chance of meeting a survivor of the Holocaust, Asher Cohen. He recounts his experience as a young boy in Romania during the persecution.
When it begins in 41, I was 4 years old. All the Jews around our village were taken there in small rooms like ghettos. We are not allowed to go out without education, without school, without childhood. I lost my childhood.
But after a miraculous survival, he was able to reunite with his family and move to Israel.
Because Romania is not only the Holocaust. Romania was an anti-Semitic country.
Yeah.
And here,
Well,
in contrast of Romania,
yes.
in contrast what happened that time, the only country might be in the world. They
Accepted.
decided by governmental decision, by Manuel Lezion, the president, to give visas to thousands, more than 10,000 Jews, come to Philippines and be free from the Nazi horrible regime. And for all the Jews, the gesture of the Philippine people and her president, we cannot forget forever what you have done for the Jewish people in Europe.
I think up to today, the gesture and the feeling has not changed.
Philippines is a very good friend of Israel. Not only this, you know, in November 1947, the United States decided about the creation of the Jewish land, Israel.
Yeah.
The only country in Asia was the Philippines. We are in favor to establish a Jewish land in Israel.
Today, a monument stands as a reminder of this strong bond between the two nations. Called the Open Door Monument, it is made up of 3 door structures, each one symbolizing key points in history.
I want just to express my very, very grateful to the people of the Philippines, what they have done for us, for the Jewish people, as a survivor, Holocaust survivor.
Thank you very much. It means a lot to us also to be able to help and to have very good friends forever.
Thank you.
It is worth noting that Israel also opened up their country to Filipinos, allowing tourists to come here with no need for a visa. Up next, I get into the heart of Israel, its ancient holy city, and learn more about the story of the Jewish people. When visiting other countries, I always try to get in touch with fellow members of the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. At the airport in Haifa, I met with Yigal, one of the active members of AOPA Israel. We enjoyed chatting about flying, and it's great to know someone in this part of the world in case you'll need to land here in the future.
You should not miss flying over Israel. It's a unique experience. It's a very holy places. You have history under every stone.
Yeah.
We can help you with everything, assist you with aerial charts, information, security help, everything.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It was my pleasure.
Taking up his advice, I head over to the Tel Aviv Yafo Airport, where AOPA Israel chairman Nathan Sharon was waiting for me. He introduced me to Eli Inbar, who will fly with me that day to see Israel's unique landscape.
Well, it will be our first time to fly 4 X-ray aircraft. Never had a chance to fly a 4 X-ray.
Very good aircraft.
Any 4 X-ray is good.
Though a bit hazy, we were finally cleared for flight. We took off from Tel Aviv and followed the stretch of coastline up north. Flying over Israel shows you what an incredibly diverse country it is, despite its compact size. You will fly over cities, old and new.
You see the excavations of the Tel.
Yeah, I see it.
Of course, we wanted to fly over Jerusalem, but the haze could be a problem, so we had to check.
Good visibility in Jerusalem. You spoke to a pilot that flies.
Great.
It was a good thing that the sky had cleared up as we flew over the ancient walled city, with the golden dome of the rock standing out from the landscape. It was hard to imagine that in this small square area, major events in the world's largest religions took place, which set things in motion for the rest of human history. We weren't very far, and we were soon back to Tel Aviv's beautiful coastline. After seeing an overview of the country, I was ready to explore its many facets, starting at its ancient sacred city.
Behind me is Jerusalem, cradle of the world's largest monotheistic faiths, and probably the most contested city in world history.
This 1 square kilometer walled area is where Abraham was said to have offered his son Isaac. Muhammad ascended into heaven. Solomon built a magnificent temple, and Jesus was crucified and died. For the world's 3 major religions, this is holy ground. While parts of the city have been modernized, Jerusalem has existed for about 4,000 years. I entered through the Jaffa Gate, one of the 9 gates that lead inside the old city. Immediately, you will be transported to a different time, Throughout its lifetime, the city has been destroyed and rebuilt, creating layers upon layers of history. Jerusalem today is divided into 4 quarters: the Christian, the Armenian, the Muslim, and the Jewish quarters. There is hardly any other city of such astonishing diversity. Of Israel's 8 million people, 75% are of the Jewish faith. In fact, Israel is the only Jewish state in the world. I was joined by Toby's brother Michael, a professor at the Tel Aviv University. He takes me through the city's Jewish quarter. Much of what we know about Jewish history is told through the Hebrew Bible. According to the text, Israel's origin can be traced back to Abraham, who is considered the father of Judaism through his son Isaac, and Islam through his son Ishmael. Abraham's descendants were enslaved by the Egyptians until Moses, God's prophet, liberated them and led them to the promised land, modern-day Israel. Central to Jewish worship is the synagogue, a place of assembly and study.
It's the largest synagogue inside the old city.
But it looks very new.
It is. It's old and new.
Okay.
It was built a few hundred years ago, and in 1948 it was blown up, and it has been rebuilt since, and now you can visit it.
Just like this synagogue, the Jews' holiest prayer site was also destroyed, and this event has always remained in their consciousness.
3,000 years ago, King Solomon built a temple here. It was destroyed twice, and today the closest place where Jews can come to pray, the closest place to the temple, is the Western Wall that we see here, which is part of the retaining wall built by King Herod the Great 2,000 years ago around the Temple Mount.
Why did they call it the Wailing Wall?
In foreign languages, it is called the Wailing Wall maybe because the Jews came here to cry over the destroyed temple.
Yes.
Or maybe even when Jews pray, they were perceived to be crying.
I see.
For generations, the Wailing Wall, or Kotel, has been the spiritual center of the Jewish nation, a kind of open-air synagogue. Michael takes me to the wall to offer my prayers. It is customary to write a note and leave it within the cracks, in the belief that prayers offered here ascend directly to heaven. Men and women pray in separate areas. Before entering, one must purify himself by washing one's hands. Men must also put on a head covering, a sign of respect for God. As I place my note on the wall, I witness such fervent and moving offerings of prayer. Even as they leave, they walk backwards in reverence, never wanting to turn their backs toward the sacred ground. For the Jewish people, Israel is the embodiment of God's promise. This is why no matter where they are in the world, Jews would always call Israel home. Up next, I continue to explore this incredibly diverse nation and see how Israel has transformed the desert into a land overflowing with milk and honey. Still exploring Israel's unique landscape, I found myself in the harsh desert, which forms most of the country's southern area. In the midst of the arid land stands a magnificent fortress. Perched on top of the mountain overlooking the Dead Sea, the Masada Fortress was built by King Herod, a Roman-appointed ruler known for his extravagant building projects. This was to be his hiding place in case of a revolt, and he lavishly decorated it with bedrooms and bathhouses. Mosaic tiles, alabaster windows, and sophisticated water systems are only some of its design merits. But Masada was not to go down in history for its architecture, but for the events that took place decades after its construction. As the Romans took over Israel, Jerusalem and the Temple were once again destroyed. Jewish rebels were forced to flee into the desert, taking over the fortress and holding up in its walls for years. Roman encampments surrounded them until they successfully scaled the walls. The Jewish rebels were now in their last stand, and they had to decide their fate.
On this site, Jewish rebels chose to kill themselves and their families than to submit to Roman capture, a symbolic act in Jewish history.
The history of Masada and its dramatic end has become the embodiment of Jewish determination to live free in their own land. The inhospitable desert covers more than half of Israel's total land area. And yet, the country's agricultural sector today gives such a tremendous yield. Toby takes me to the Yehuda Market, a bustling place crammed with fresh fruits, vegetables, and just about anything else grown or picked from Israel's rich soil. Toby introduces me to some of his favorites.
This is halva. It's one of the most famous desserts in Israel and all over the Middle East, and made with sesame seeds as the base and sugar and plenty of flavorings. I wonder if we can get a taste.
Well, here he is, our man.
Coffee bean,
Thank you, thank you.
Very good, very good.
80% sesame.
Okay.
Little sugar, little ice.
So healthy. I like it. Very good. But your family has been preparing this for a long time? Your
Grandfather, 1947, only half.
So your grandfather was the halva king.
Yeah, I'm Prince.
Today, the market has also become a place where food and traditions come together, as seen in the variety of influences in each stall. Bread is one of the staple foods in the region, and it comes in such an incredible variety here in Israel, where East meets West.
Well, this is a famous bakery. It's called the Meteor Bakery. These crescent twists are among my favorites. They're called rugula. Well, they have a variety of fillings. Poppy seed is a very traditional one. Raisin, chocolate. Should we try one?
I'm happy to try. Okay.
Melts in your hands and in your mouth.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Very, very nice. Thank you very much.
Much of Israel's agricultural boom can be credited to the formation of the kibbutz, a communal type of settlement where members live and work together in developing a farm, sharing duties and the profits they make. I visited the Merom Golan, one of the first kibbutzim in the northern part of Israel. I talked to Joanne, one of the members of the kibbutz, to learn more about this unique concept.
How important is the kibbutz to Israeli history and culture?
I think it's very important because it was a good idea. The idea of a community as it is today, I think is wonderful. We celebrate holidays together. We celebrate everything together. And if something happens, you have a community standing behind you.
Supporting you.
For better and for worse.
Nowadays, the kibbutz has evolved to a group of people with shared stakes in all types of businesses. Here in Merom Golan, they took advantage of the scenery and built a resort village with cabins and guest rooms for tourists visiting the area. But with the large tract of land, they still continue to invest in agriculture. I met Iran, an agriculturalist at the kibbutz.
It's amazing how beautiful the landscape is.
Yeah, we are actually we are in the north of the Golan Heights right now, about 950 meters above sea level. The advantage of the Golan Heights, which is cooler than the rest of Israel,
Yes,
is that we can grow winter vegetables in the summer.
I see, yes.
He shares with me some of the secrets to Israel's agricultural success. Also known as a tech nation, they have applied a lot of their scientific and technological advancements to farming. I was there just in time for cherry picking, one of Israel's biggest harvests. They say that the cold winters help the plants to sleep before they are waking up in the spring to yield tons of fruit.
When you plant, how long is gestation before they start bearing fruits?
Normally it will bear fruit in the second or third year, but for the Judaism, you can pick the tree before the fourth year of the tree.
I see.
It's from the Bible. We have this tradition that you have to give the tree 3 years to grow without picking.
After exploring the kibbutz, Toby's sister, Dr. Esther Furman, joined me for lunch at the common dining hall where members all gather for a meal.
Esther, I feel so good being here. I feel like when I was in grade school, the cafeteria at school was something like this. But how is it here in the kibbutz? Is everybody here welcome to come in?
Well, they have breakfast where anybody that lives here can come, and also the people from the resort village, they have their breakfast here. If you look around, you see all these people here are people who work here and members of the kibbutz.
I'm sure the food is very authentic. It looks very good.
The food is, as far as my experience, is very good.
So, bon appetit, how do you say it in...
Bete avon.
Bete avon.
Yes.
I learned something new again.
Good appetite.
Bete avon.
Yes, yes. And we say l'chaim is cheers.
Cheers, l'chaim.
L'chaim.
In the next part of our journey, we continue to understand the different faiths that have sprung up from this place. Being transported back to the time of Jesus of Nazareth and exploring the Israel he saw and experienced.
This has been your captain, Joy Roa. See you in the next Asian Air Safari.